Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to make for you a very special fish soup that's called Ukha. Ukha is a clear Russian soup made from various types of freshwater fish, and it usually contains root vegetables, parsley root, carrots, potatoes, bay leaves, dill, green parsley, and spiced with black pepper. Ukha often cooked in a cast iron pot on the campfire near the lake where the fish was caught, and mostly prepared by men. Women's job is just to clean the fish and prepare the vegetables. So let's get started. I'm gonna make my soup today with a striped sea bass. It's kind of a luxurious fish for this type of soup, but I bought it, I had it all cleaned out. As you can see, gills are removed and it's all descaled. And you can tell if your fish is fresh by looking in her eyes. If her eyes are clear, the fish is fresh. I don't have a lot of fish videos on my channel, but I'm actually very good at filleting the fish, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. First, we're going to cut the tail off, and then we're going to make some incisions from the head on the fillet. Then we're gonna cut the head off because we're gonna use the head for the broth. It's actually with gills removed, this is gonna be perfect for our broth. And next you're gonna cut off the fins from the fish, and you can use the scissors, you can use the kitchen scissors to clean your fish even further, but I think the knife and the scissors can work. And then you have this sack inside where the guts were, you need to cut it out too, and we're not going to use it for the broth, so that part we're just going to discard. And then you're going to take a kitchen scissors, and that top fin you're gonna cut with the kitchen scissors, and you will see your fillet will open up a little bit, and it's gonna give you guidance where to make your incision to detach the fillet from the carcass of the fish. So you're gonna detach one fillet, and then you're gonna go on the other side and detach the next fillet. And we're gonna use that carcass from the fish also for the broth. It's gonna make us a very flavorful broth. And if you notice, guys, I'm not removing the skin from the fish. I just think it looks so pretty. And the tail that you cut off, there's some still meat left on it, so we can use a couple pieces in our soup. So I'm filleting it too. And you can cut the tail in half, and if you have a sharp scissors, you can cut the head in half, but I decided not to. I'm just gonna keep it whole. And here's our parts for the broth and our parts for the soup. So the fillet we're gonna cut into bite-sized pieces, and you just run your fingers through the fillet and make sure you didn't leave any bones in there. If you left any bones in there, those have to be removed, and you can use the tweezers to remove the bones, or you can just pull them out by hand. So we cut our fish into bite-sized pieces. We just need to spread it out around the board, and we're gonna start making our broth. To make your fish broth, you're gonna need all these parts that we reserved from the fish, and they're gonna go into the cheesecloth. And what I like to do, I kind of like to sterilize it since it's gonna go in the broth. So I just want to get rid of all this dye that's in this fabric. And as you can see, after I poured some hot water over it, as you can see, the water turned yellow, so there was some dye in it. And then you just squeeze the water out and let it cool, and you can spread it around. And I forgot to tell you, the cheesecloth has to be doubled, and we're gonna put our fish parts inside the cheesecloth, and we're gonna tie it to make it like a little sack. I'm just gonna tie it tight from both sides so your fish parts don't swim around in your fish broth. I have 8.5 quart pot here. I'm gonna put my fish parts in there, and I'm gonna pour 5.5 quarts of cold water. I'm just gonna put it on the stove to boil. Let's talk about root vegetables that are gonna go in our soup. I have an onion here, and I don't usually peel the onion if it goes in the broth. I just cut it in half and leave the skin on. And people ask me, why do I do that? Well, the skin is gonna color your broth yellow. It's gonna give it a pretty color. And I'm gonna use 2 large carrots. The one that goes to flavor the broth does not need to be peeled, and the other one is peeled. I'm also gonna use 2 stalks of parsley, and this is parsnip. The one that goes to flavor the broth does not need to get peeled because it's gonna get discarded, and the other one you peel. And this root vegetable is called the celery root. So we're just gonna cut the leaves of it, and we're gonna cut this little hat from it where the leaves were attached. So that part is gonna go to flavor our broth, and the other part is gonna get peeled and gonna go in the soup. I also have a flat leaf parsley, and I'm gonna remove the stems from parsley and dill, and those are gonna go in the broth to flavor the broth. And I have 4 small Yukon gold potatoes. And here are the spices that need to go in our broth. I have 2 bay leaves here, I have 1 teaspoon of coriander seeds, and I have about 5 to 6 black peppercorns. And as far as the seasoning, I have salt, that's always to taste, and a combination of black and red peppers. As your broth starts a boiling process, you need to remove that foam that appears on the surface of your broth. And as you can see, because our fish is in that sack, there's not much of extra stuff that's swimming around in our broth. And after you've removed that foam, you're gonna put all your vegetables that you reserved to flavor the broth. Then you need to lower the heat and cook it for 45 minutes to up to an hour. Let's prepare our root vegetables, and the first one is a celery root, and it's kind of a unique vegetable, not very noticed in the grocery store. People don't know what to do with it, but believe it or not, it tastes like a potato, and it's used a lot in soups. It has a little tiny hint of celery taste to it. Then slice your carrot into circles, not very thin ones, and all of the root vegetables actually kind of roughly chopped. And as I told you, this dish is prepared by fishermen or men, so they're not very kind of pretty into how they cut things. They just chop things roughly and just put it in a soup. And believe me, it's gonna taste the same, whether it's cut pretty or not. And we're also gonna need 5 Yukon gold potatoes. We're also gonna cut them into quarters. All the vegetables for this soup, as you can see, are not very finely cut, so just leave them on a larger scale. We're also gonna chop some fresh parsley and fresh dill, and I am not using cilantro, and you guys gonna say, thank God, this time she is leaving cilantro out. Yes, I usually put cilantro everywhere. So yeah, just the parsley and the dill today. We're gonna reserve some to finish our soup, and some of it is gonna go in the soup. So here we have all our root vegetables done. Parsnip, celery root, carrots, and our potatoes and water. We have some fresh herbs and some salt and pepper to taste. At the last 10 minutes of cooking time, we're gonna add our spices, which are our bay leaves and peppercorns. We're not gonna add the salt at this time, and it actually gives us some time to flavor our fish, the fish that's gonna go in the soup. So we're just gonna put some salt and pepper into fish, and we're gonna let it sit for 10 minutes. And let's check on our broth, and it looks beautiful, and guess what? It smells like fish, in a good way, of course. Then we're gonna discard all the vegetables that we used for flavoring the broth, and that sack with all the fish parts also is gonna get thrown away. And at this point, you need to strain your fish broth, and you will see the color of it is beautiful. Is because of that unpeeled onion. So next time, guys, don't tell me peel your onion. I'm not going to. If you feel like you don't have enough broth, you can add just a little bit of water. I'm just gonna add half a cup of water to our fish broth, and we're gonna bring it to a boil, and we're gonna put our vegetables in there, our root vegetables, our parsley, carrots, turnips, and potatoes, and we're gonna boil it for about 20 to 30 minutes. Then you can check your potato and see if it's done. Just check it with a knife or fork. If it's a fork tender, then you can start loading your fish. And load your fish one by one so it doesn't get broken. It is quite a delicate fish, so that's why I left the skin on, because if I would have removed the skin, the fish simply would have fallen apart in the soup. Then we're gonna cook it with the fish for about 15 to 20 minutes, and we're gonna, of course, look how beautiful it looks. We're gonna, of course, taste the soup. But before we do that, we're gonna add some fresh herbs to it. Then you need to taste your soup, and if it doesn't have enough salt, you can add your salt and you can add your pepper. I have to tell you that this soup can take a lot of black pepper. I don't know exactly what it does, but it kind of just kills that fishy smell in the soup. And at this point, your soup is done. Now finally we can taste it. So we're just gonna pour a little bit in the bowl, and we're gonna use some fresh herbs to garnish our soup. And trust me, this soup is so delicious. Yes, I didn't cook it on the campfire, and I'm not a fisherman, but I did such a good job. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye.